when markets are doing nothing, it's all about individual stocks. And when it comes to individual stocks, I have got with me one of India's favorite investor, Porinju Veliyath, Managing Director and Portfolio Manager with Equity Intelligence. Porinju, good morning. Thank you for joining us. And I was just thinking about this in the morning, that everyone is waiting for markets to crash, and I guess markets are waiting for everyone's patience to crash. Markets are not correcting, and nobody's getting a chance to buy stocks at lower levels.
Yes, good morning, Nikunj. I think this is a very typical attitude, I would say, of many people in the market who are not convinced about the India growth story or what's happening in this country. I have been always taking a stance that India, for the first time since independence, is changing in a significant manner, both politically and economically. And both these are very much connected as far as the stock investors are concerned. So I think it's just the beginning of a new India. We have a long way to go. As I always put it in almost every interview, from $2 trillion economy to $5-6 trillion economy in the next few years. So anybody thinking about a crash or waiting for a crash is just foolish.
Okay, so Porinju, good morning. Tanvir here as well. What is your call then on the markets going forward? Do you think how do you look at the direction the markets would take, because they've been parked in a very tight and boring range for the last, well, I think almost 3 to 4 weeks?
Few hours, yeah. Aisha, it's not 2-3 weeks. I'm sorry. Who am I speaking to?
Tanvir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, market has not been boring. See, it has been boring, those who look at only the Nifty and Sensex and, approaching the market that way as a general market. Today, to be very frank, there is nothing like stock market for investors. It's just a very, very, a gray area when you talk. What is stock market after all? It just facilitates. We have stock exchanges that facilitates investors to own a company or to disinvest a company. It's a very simple mechanism. And but world over, this has been, this word is used very, very often, and perhaps business media exists because of that. You have to admit that. So it's all about stock picking, as Nikunj was putting it. So we are in a definitely at a huge inflection point, which although it's just started a few months ago, it's a different level the country is heading to. So in which the stock pickers have got enormous opportunity to pick stocks and make 20 and 30, perhaps 40% CAGR for next 4 or 5 years time. That has been the theme I have been always talking about, and it's happening. It's happening in individual stocks, because especially in a disruptive world. Now, when people who invested in the telecom stocks, traditional stocks like Arcom or Idea or those kind of companies, they have a boring time. I can understand that. So that is why I'm always talking, which are going to survive in a disruptive world, which companies, which segments are going to have major challenges. Some of those challenges could be beyond their capability to manage, their ability to manage, even if they are the best managements. So this is a very dynamic world of stock market today, so in which I strongly believe India is still a paradise for stock picking. Now coming to the GST, that was one of the most talked event. Not only talked event, I feel people haven't talked enough about GST. It is the perhaps just like GST. I mean the demonetization. GST is again a very very radical revolutionary change happening in the economy of this country. It is huge. It is hugely positive. When we use the words, like manufacturing disruption or accounting disruption, these are too silly in front of such a hugely positive economic event, historic event in this country. We should not even mention those negatives. That's very small, silly things which our auditors, chartered accountants, kind of people will manage. The government will take enough steps. They will make all the small, medium, large entrepreneurs in this country. I am very confident they will take care of their problems and temporary confusions and chaos. So one need not really worry and become negative because of GST. It is now actually I would like to talk today two themes. Two sectors. There are many sectors which are benefiting. as listed companies because of GST. Can I? Yes, Nikunj, are you there? No. Okay. So one of the sectors. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead. So we are talking about two themes. We're excited to know more about them.
So I was talking alone and I was getting bored. Anyway, see, one sector I was just feeling very strong about the footwear, leather. You know, that's a big industry in India. We are big exporters also. In fact, you know, and Bata is a stock which I have been always liking. Of course, we are not holding Bata in our portfolio management or personally, but I'm just telling a large company. There could be some smaller companies which I can't name them because of the regulator restrictions to protect the investors. So that way, I feel this is a sector. For example, this I'm just telling two examples. The footwear and leather segment, around 60 to 65% of the business is unorganized sector, which has been all these years. Now they will change. It may now this 40% organized business can grow to 70, 75, and 80% in the coming years. That is huge. That's a huge, unprecedented jump in their business volumes and profitability. So look at some of those companies, and India with 1.3 billion people, and this the chappals, shoes, and all those items, they are like wearables and consumables. So there is a big potential for some of those big brands. Now Bata is quoting at around 7,000 crores market cap. Very clean company, very capable, strong management. So and India, just imagine, this from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, they have so much of distribution network, their own showrooms, a franchise model, and you can buy 100 rupees shoes, a pair of shoes from there. You can buy a 5,000 rupees shoe from there. So this is something I think it's a very good company. One need not go and buy it today. These stocks can even react. It can come back to 500 or whatever. So I'm not telling a theme which is for the day or for the week. So this footwear and leather is one theme I would like to request investors to look for, explore further, and see the comfortable valuations and how these companies are taking shape and growing for the future. The second segment I have in mind is the construction materials. I would say the home improvement products, basically the ceramic tiles, the paint, or the plywood, light electricals, and those kind of even cables and wires, the sanitary wire. This is one segment, around 50% of which is produced and manufactured in the unorganized sector. Some of them don't pay the tax properly. They don't account things. They avoid maybe sales tax or excess duty. So there's a lot of complication and gray and black areas in this kind of businesses. So there are the companies. There are some smart companies in that segment. We have discussed HSIL earlier. That stock is also doing very well today. It's at around 2,500 crores market cap. And Hindustan Sanitary Ware, we are holding in our portfolio management. It's one of our core holding in the PMS. I would like to disclose that. There are many other companies which I don't want to name because they are price sensitive. So let investors explore these kind of segments where they always used to have competition, too much competition from the unorganized sector. And one need not really worry about this unorganized sector also. Some of them will grow up to the organized manner. They will go professional. They will appoint somebody educated and who can use a computer and to file the GST and register. So a lot of change. This is a massive change happening in the complete chain of manufacturing and services in India. So and this is basically highly positive. So we have no reason to be looking for a crash in the market to buy stocks. But all said and done, one thing is very, very evident. This is a disruptive world. You cannot generalize the stock market. You cannot generalize any sector. One has to be stock specific because many of those companies won't exist after 5-10 years.
Course. But when it comes to your footwear theme, I'm so with you. Look at the population of India and look at the turnover of Bata, which is India's largest listed company. I mean, the opportunity is huge. I mean, Bata even does not have 3 or 4% market share. So sky is the limit. So I'm completely with you. And if you're bullish on low-cost housing, like you've been saying, I mean, if you buy a house, you need to buy a tile, you need to buy a bathroom fitting, you need to buy sanitary ware, you need to buy lights. So I'm completely with you when it comes to these two mega trends. But Porinju, let's make today's show slightly interesting. We've always historically quizzed you on what you're buying Where are you, smelling and sensing opportunity? So I'm going to take the clock back and talk about things which we've discussed in the past, 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, and 2.5 years ago, about 1.5 years ago, when you were in the ET Now studio, you mentioned about the logistics theme, and that time you spoke about TCI and TCI Express. The stocks are doing extremely well, even though it's a low margin industry, very competitive industry. How will dynamics change for these two stocks?
5 months ago, Nikunj, just 5 months ago, I was in the studio on the budget day, 6 months ago. Before the budget, I talked about this stock, hugely potential stock, TCI. TCS was 167 that day. I think February 1st was the budget. From 167, it is today, I think 340 or something. Means the stock has doubled. And this is the leadership company in this country, such a huge country with a very big logistics requirement. TCI is one of the core holding in our portfolio management. I want to disclose that, including TCI Express, because we bought both these companies much before the split. And now we used to buy it at 200 to 250 rupees before the split. Now today, TCI is 340 and TCI Express is, I think, nearly 600 rupees. So that's a huge gain for our portfolio management investors. I'm very happy about this. We are still holding on to this stock because I feel many of these, we had mid-cap companies, but industry leaders. Nikunj, you may be remembering, I was one day discussing only about the industry leaders in such a huge country with 500, 600 crores kind of market caps, many of them. One need not really look into the Nifty 50 stocks to find the industry leaders. There are many, many more industry leaders below that. Now, some of those 400, 500 crores market cap companies have become 2,000 and 3,000 crores market cap. So now this can go to another, it may go double and triple from here. So look at companies. Now I don't want to tell too many names, but TCI and TCI Express, as we discussed, I'm very happy about that. We are still holding on to these stocks and looks very comfortable.
What we've done this time is that, when you would agreed for today's interaction, we started promoting that on ET Now social media and also started promoting that with this new application called Involve. And we've also requested for viewer participation. And, again, every time you come on TV, the viewer participation is tremendous. But I've got a lot of questions about some of the stocks which you've discussed in the past. And one such stock is Everest Industries and Future Consumer. Do you still like the way how the business is shaping up for Future Consumer and Everest Industries?
Yes, of course, Everest Industries has run up a bit, not significantly. When Future Consumer is a stock which has been moving very steadily. I first started buying the stock personally at 4 or 5 rupees. We started buying the stock much later at 10 rupees. I have been giving disclosure all the time. This is one of the core holding. Even still, I would like to specifically give disclosure that FCEL is something a core holding in our PMS. It's a long-term investment. Even though we stopped buying these stocks recently because of better options, we continue to hold this stock. So these are again, there are some of them are like industry leaders and, the new emerging opportunities. It is very simple. Actually, one need not be hugely a CFA and chartered accountant and, having a degree from Columbia to really understand India and, to very, very in a simple manner, how to analyze these segments and which companies are doing well or supposed to do well, which companies have been managed not very well traditionally or family managed, which are now compelled to turn professional and go more forward as a professional company. So that is where you are going to make a lot of money, and that is the space, the turnaround space where you are going to make multi-baggers. And that is we are in a very, very big sweet spot today as equity investor. And next 2-3 years, the companies which are changing by its profile, by the management attitude and quality, the way they take care of the minority shareholders, the way they conduct business, and now these companies cannot siphon out money. Traditionally, we had thousands of companies used to siphon out money every year because of they don't want to pay tax or they don't want to reward the minority shareholders. Some of them, even if the promoters are holding 51%, they consider that they are the 100% owner of the company. That was the attitude towards the minority shareholders. So these things are changing. If somebody is not willing to change with times, they will be compelled to change, thanks to Narendra Modi.
Very interesting insights, Porinju. purely from a news point of view, I don't know whether you've taken a look at the price action in Venki's India and if you have an opinion there, because, it's just been such a move since the start of the year till now.
Amazing move. Again, it's a big brand. This was one stock, I used to be bullish 10 to 15 years ago. We had a small exports in PMS when the stock price used to be at, around 200 levels. Held on for many years, did not move much. At 350, 400, we exited. Then again, the stock was there for last many years, 5-6 years. See, and there are such companies which are just sleeping. That sleeping of stock happens because of any major corporate event or the promoter's attitude. So please identify, let the small investors identify such great businesses, good brands, which are national market as their market. So there are some such very, very highly profitable and growing businesses which are sleeping as far as stock price is concerned. I have once used, of course, Venki's we are not holding at this point of time. So because you asked, I am telling. So there are some other smaller companies also related businesses, which again I can't tell the names. Investors can find, because the consumption pattern, how the consumption pattern moving up and changing in this country. So investors can very easily find stocks because we are having more than a dozen segments and hundreds of themes and a lot of companies, hundreds of small cap and mid cap companies, which will be, I am repeating, which will be 5 and 10 times in the next 5 years. That is happening only because of that unprecedented rate of change, a radical change happening in the style of the managing the economy by the politicians and the long-term vision of the government. And it's a real change, and that is why we have been using this word very often, inflection point. And we are still at inflection point. You are not late to buy into stocks.
Okay, closing comments, Porinju, and again, our Involve app is just churning out a lot of queries for you. So thank you, Porinju, for individually answering some of these specific, big picture questions. You bought into Balaji recently. That's what the bulk deal report is indicating. So are you betting on their alt business, which is disruptive? In your own terminology, you're looking for businesses which are on the verge of disrupting the normal life. So Balaji, after the alt launch, is promising to be the Netflix of India. Is that your bet, is that Balaji can be the Netflix of India?
Yeah, that's a new development. But Nikunj, more importantly, that is another sleeping stock, as you indicated, sleeping for last over a decade. It was at the same price. It was a much higher price maybe 15 years ago. That was industry leader, huge capability in the media segment. What they have been doing, not many people can do to that extent and that kind of a quality. So the alt Balaji, something new happened. That is why I happened to look at the stock. So this could be a new inflection point for the company. So I was buying the stock at 80, 85 levels. I was accumulating many months ago when people were throwing shares away for the demonetization because of ignorance. So that has, if Alt Balaji really goes successful, there are some indications already, and it really takes shape as expected by the promoters and the management. This can be, why not, $1 billion company going forward in a few years' time. If it doesn't happen, even if Alt Balaji fails, I feel, there is a margin of safety. There are other businesses that's good enough to nurture today's market cap. So that margin of safety is there. And media is something we have to be bullish in India. But again, because of the disruptive world, some of the media companies may close down also. Some of the segments may find huge challenges. We can't generalize anything in today's disruptive world. So stock picking, I found, Balaji is something very interesting. So we bought the stocks in portfolio management we are holding on to.
Ninja, out of the 4-5 stocks which you've discussed with the disclosure, and you've been very forthright with your buying price and admitting and acknowledging that they're part of your portfolio management service, which means you have a vested interest in them and you want those stock prices to go higher. That will benefit you professionally. So we've discussed TCI, we've discussed Balaji, we've discussed Bata, and we've discussed HSIL. Now, since we are talking about not quarters or months, we are talking about years. This is 2017. By 2021 or by 2020, out of the 5 stocks which we've discussed, which stock has the strongest potential to be a 10x?
Oh my God, that's a very difficult question. Basically, we discussed all the performing stocks already. Because these are basically large companies which we discussed, Nikunj, and that's what we prefer to discuss, because the smaller companies. When you talk about 10x, my mind goes to travel to the smaller mid caps and some large small caps. So this 10x for these kind of companies, it's very difficult to talk about. I would say these will be decent compounders. That's the word I can use, because these stocks have already run up. Now, 5 months ago, we talked at 160, 170, the TCI. Today it is 340. And I am talking about a 10x from here. It's like I'm talking at 20x 5 months back. So, you can't take this very lightly. This already has moved very much. People should look for weakness in the market, or some people, because of their ignorance, any economic development happened in India and implemented by the current government, there is a tendency for the people to go bearish. Whether it is good or bad, they don't care. So that kind of a blind attitude against the current government by majority media and a lot of people in the country, that is what is creating this opportunity. So let us wait for the next economic reform to be implemented by the government. You'll get a chance till the day of the once it is announced, until the day of implementation, just like GST.
Oh, absolutely. GST has been a landmark reform, and given the reputation that the government has built now, with a slew of reforms being made a reality, the next big would pretty much be in the offing. Thanks very much, Porinju, for taking out the time to speak with us today. Really appreciate your insights and your thoughts as always.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.